Biur Mishnah Dalet. Explanation for Mishnah Dalet. Mishnatenu Dana. Our Mishnah is going to make it more complicated now. Misha Zimen Yomnim Bashovach Be'erev Yom Tov. You said, you went up the ladder on just before Yom Tov, and you looked and you saw these two guys. These two guys. And you say, these two guys I'm going to eat tomorrow. These two guys over here. כדי לשחטן ביום טוב, כמבואר במשנה הקודמת, just like it says in the previous Mishnah, וכשבא לי, night יום טוב, you climb up to the thing, ביום טוב, נולד ספק אם אלו היומנים שזימן. Now you're not sure. Is this the ones that I designated or not? You're not sure. So what do you do now? הערה, בהתאם ללשון המשנה נשתמש כאן ביונים בלשון זכר. We're going to call יונים, not יונות. We're going to call them males, I don't know why. We'll see soon. זימן בקן בערב יום טוב, שחורים. So you went up to the dove place, or to the chicken coop, whatever you want to say, and you say, it cannot be a chicken coop, sorry. It has to be a dove. Do you know why it's going to be a chicken coop? Because doves, you're not ever sure if these are the ones who yesterday. You can have the neighbor's dove fly in. In a chicken coop, they're closed. You know that these are the ones. Yeah, because the doves fly back and forth. You're not sure, but you know yours. Usually a person knows his doves, especially someone who is into the things. Okay? So he climbed the ladder on the day before Yom Tov, and he says, these two black ones I want. גוזלות שחורים, כדי לתלם ביום טוב, in order to take them in יום טוב, הוא מצא ביום טוב באותו הקן לבנים. He comes the next day, he comes to pick them up, hey, they are whites, they're not black ones.
Those are not the ones.
Those are not the ones. במקום שחורים שזימן. Or the opposite. He wanted the white ones, and he found in that chicken coop, black ones. In that dove coop, black ones. או שזימן בקן לבנים, וביום מצא בקן שחורים, במקום לבנים, או the opposite. ונמצא שאותם שזימן ברחו מהקן. In other words, these are not the ones that he designated. Or, another problem can be, now this, it looks like ridiculous. Of course it's not yours. What's the question? The Mishnah doesn't have to tell it to me, it's obvious. So exactly. But we're going to see that it needs to be said. We're going to see soon. If he doesn't explain, I'll explain. שניים ומצא שלושה, what happens if you went into the chicken coop, into the dove coop, the day before, and you said these two because there was only two over there. The next day you come in and there are three.
You didn't designate the third one.
Yeah, but are you allowed to shecht any of them?
No.
Yeah.
You didn't designate him.
But you designated the two. Maybe you can say. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Maybe שניים ומצא שלושה, two and you found three. זימן שני יונים, he designated two דב, ומצא ביום טוב באותו קן שלושה, and he found three. הרי נוסף אחד שלא זימן. So one more was added that he didn't intend. והוא מוקצה, and that one is מוקצה. וכגון שאינו מכיר את היונים שזימן. And he's not sure if he knows which one of the three is the two. That's good, but he doesn't know. They all look the same. כל אלו אסורים. They're all forbidden. You don't know. Everything is forbidden. ביום טוב. בגמרא מבואר, he's going to explain the black and whites now, because the black and white doesn't make sense, it's obvious. בגמרא ומזומן, שאם זימן שחורים ומצא לבנים, או להפך, that if he designated black, and then he finds whites, or the opposite, that's obvious. I don't need the Gemara to tell it to me. Common logic tells it to me. ברור ופשוט הוא שאסורים. Obviously they're forbidden. I don't need you to tell it to me. ואין המשנה צריכה להשמיענו דין זה. In other words, it's impossible that that's what the Mishnah was trying to tell us. So let's the Gemara says, that's not what the Gemara is trying to tell you. It's trying to teach you something else. Let's see, what is it trying to teach you? אלא שמדובר במשנתנו שזימן יונים בשני קנים. That it means that you say, for breakfast, I'm going to have these two white ones in this hall, and for lunch, I'm going to have these two black ones on this hall. and you come the next day, and you find the two black ones in the white ones, in the two white ones in the black ones. In other words, it says, are you allowed to assume that it's these two who were exchanged with these two, and not other ones that came from outside? Is that's what you're allowed to assume? So it says, you would think, maybe I'm allowed to assume that they just changed spaces. He tells you, no. Once they're not in their place, just like you assume that this one went out and came in, maybe other ones came in. So if you didn't find your ones at the hole that your ones is, that's why it's not allowed. That's what it's trying to tell you. Even if you designated both. Okay? באחד שחורים ובאחד לבנים. ומצא שחורים במקום לבנים ולגם שחורים. Then you find the black ones in the place of the white ones and the white ones in the place of the black ones. ובא המשנה להשמיענו, the Mishnah comes to teach you. Don't say, I'm going to assume that these two black ones are the ones I saw over here, and these two white ones are the ones you can't assume, because they're not in the same place. שאין אומרים, אלו הם היונים שזימן, אלא שהחליפו קניהם. Don't say these are the same ones that just changed places, אלא אומרים שאלו שזימן פרחו מקניהם, think that these that you designated flew away, ואלו שמצא הם אחרים שבאו ממקור אחר. And these ones that you find are other ones that came from another place. ולכן אסורים הם משום מוקצה, and since they were not designated, that's why they're not allowed. So it's not just black, you find white. It's black and white that change places. Okay. But what happens, and this is a strange one, we said if you said two and you found three, it's not allowed. Because you don't know which one is the third one. And when shechting, all three, or even one if you shecht, you might shecht the one that wasn't designated. So therefore not allowed you. But what if it's the opposite? What if it was three, yesterday you went up on the ladder, it was three, and today you find only two? Can you assume that these two are the ones that are there? That's the question. You said all three, and now out of the three, there's two are there. Yeah.
It's a better chance you can check them.
Oh, very good. Shlosha. So if there were three on the day before Yom Tov, zimen be'erev Yom Tov shlosha yamin, and erev Yom Tov, you designated three doves, umatza shnaim, and you find only two. In Yom Tov itself, when you went up on the ladder, you only found two. Mutarim, you're allowed to take them. Litlam biyom tov, to take them yom tov. Shanu umrim, because this is what you are allowed to assume. You are allowed to assume this, that what? Ha'echad parach, that the one flew off, v'ashnayim shematzah mehem min hamezumanim. You're not worried that there's two more from other place interchanged. You're going to assume that these two are the ones from yesterday. You're allowed to assume it. You're allowed to assume it. Next one. Betoch haken, what happens if you designated the two doves inside the nest? They were inside the nest when you saw them designated. Zimen yonim betochen umatza lifnei haken, and you found them on the balcony outside of the nest. There's a small ledge over there. And that's where they were now. Now, can you assume that the ones who are on the balcony outside of the nest are the ones that were yesterday in the nest? That's the question. ביום טוב מצא את הקן ריקן, he found the nest empty, אבל לפני הקן מצא יוני, but on the balcony, on the ledge, he found יונים, he found doves. אסורים, you cannot assume these are the ones from inside. האסורים היונים שמצא לפני הקן, להתלם ביום טוב, they're not allowed to take them in יום טוב. Why? Because if they're not in their home, many people walk on the balcony. You can't assume that these are the ones from this nest. Shema acherim hem shelo zimna, because you have to worry, maybe it's other doves that you didn't designate. V'im ein sham elahem, what happens if this is what you only have two doves and they're in the nest, and you designated these two doves, and then the next day you find these two doves. You don't know if these are the one, not inside the nest, outside. But you look around, there's no other doves. These are the only two. It says, then you're allowed to assume that it's the two. But if there are 3 doves around, you can't assume. Only if there's the only ones around, you can assume.
It's a big problem.
For doves, yes. For chickens, not. Because chickens are there. You cannot going to assume it's another chicken came into the herd. Yep. ואם אין שנה להם, אם אין בסביבה אלא שאותו כלב, הרי אלו מותרים, then they are permitted. שאם שמצאם לפני הקן, that if you found them on the balcony, on the ledge before the nest, אנו אומרים שאלו הם היונים שזימן באור יום טוב בתוך הקן. He says you're allowed to assume that these are the designated doves. בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, שמדובר כאן בגוזלות רכים שאינם פורחים עדיין. It says, no, don't jump in the conclusion. The Gemara says, we're only going to assume that even if it's only 2, as long as they cannot fly. Because if they can fly, now you have a problem. Maybe those 2 that were inside the nest flew off and other ones are here. How do you know it's yours? The neighbors are all around. So it's only if these are small chicks that don't know how to fly yet, then you can assume they come from the nest. And they're the only 2 over there. אלא מדדים ברגליהם, ואין צורך לומר, and for sure, שאם אין שם שובח אחר בתוך 50 אמה, and also, if there is another dove coop 50 amas away, 25 meters away, all these things are, you can't rely on anything. They go, it's like, they're looking at these rooms, from one room to another room. It's like the chickens, you know, when they have these stalls where they lay eggs, sometimes they use this one, sometimes they use this one. You can't rely. שהגוזלות שמצא לפני הקן מותרים ביום טוב. שכל המדדה אינו מדדה יותר מ-50 אמה. Because you know that if it's more than 50 אמה, then for sure you can assume that it comes from this. There's a rule. Because when it comes to doves, by the way, the Torah, if I remember correctly, the Torah says about doves, it doesn't like people raising doves. It says, why doesn't it like people raising doves? It says, because all people who raise doves are thieves. It says, all of them. It says, you cannot raise a dove without being a thief. Because if you put a dove tower, yeah, you know for sure that the dove from next door are going to come. And why? You're not going to take it? You're going to tell yourself, even if you know that he doesn't look exactly like yours. Excuse me, he's here. I'm going to have to eat him. Exactly. It's, what do you want? He's in my coop. He's in my coop. What am I going to do? I'm going to eat him. Even though I know it might be the same. So there's a rule that how do you know if your gozalot, if your chicks are yours? So it says, if you find gozalot between 2 doves, if they're between 2 dove coops, if they're within 50 amma, you can assume they come from this dove coop. So that because they can. If it's more than 50 amma, you can take them. In other words, you're allowed to walk in the street, see a chick, see a small dove, you check around. If it's within 50 amma, you have to give it back to the guy. You're allowed to pick it up. But if it's more than 50 amma, even though you know for sure it came from either here, you're allowed to take it, because he cannot move 50 amma in one day. That's the. אלא אפילו יש שם שובח אחר בתוך 50 אמה, even if there's another chicken dove coop inside 25 meter, אבל נמצא הוא בקרן זווית, שאילו היו מדדים שם היה נעלם שובחה מעיניהם, but you found the doves in such a place where they can't see their home. It says the doves will not go to a place where they can't see their home. You can assume now that this dove doesn't belong. הרי אלו מותרים. Now it becomes permissible. שאין המדדה מדדה אלא בכדי ראיית קנו. Because the nature of the doves, they will never leave eyesight of their home. ולכן אנו אומרים, and this is why we say, שאלו שמצא לפני הקן, מאותו הגוזלה שנאמר ביום טוב בתוך הקן. In other words, it is very unlikely that they come from another dove coop if the dove coop is more than 50 amma. If the another dove coop is less than 50 amma, then you might still be able to be worried. And that obviously depends on how high the dove coops are. You know, say some dove coops are high, sometimes go low. But if you take a sulam, it's probably very high. Over here we're talking about high. Maybe over here it's talking about when dove coop are low and they can jump into it. Okay, up to you.